My high salute, Broncos country. What is going on? It is your boy Mark here with Marky Sports. You guys ever think you're recording a video, it goes about 20 minutes, and then you realize you didn't press record? Well, that just happened. So take two. Here we go, guys. We're breaking it down. Broncos 53-man roster prediction. Super, super, super excited about this. I love this time of the year. This was actually a really fun exercise. Took me a little bit longer than I had thought, and it was actually a lot more challenging than I had thought it would be. So super pumped to get into that. Before we do, guys, if you're new to the channel, if it's your first time here, check some of my other videos out. It'd be super helpful if you guys could subscribe, like the videos. If you love Denver sports, if you love fantasy football, you're going to love this channel. Simple as that. It's easy. So smash that subscribe button and let's get right to it, guys. All right, this is on my website. Pumped up about it, actually. I'll link it in the description, but here is my Broncos 53-man roster prediction for the 2024 season. Let's get into it, guys. The quarterbacks, three of them, Bo Nix, Sidham, Zach Wilson, pretty straightforward. I do think they keep all three. It makes sense, especially with the new rules allowing a third quarterback to be activated without it counting against the active game day roster. I love the room. It's going to be those three. Moving on to the line. All right, so here's my logic here. We're keeping 8 offensive linemen, right? We got our starting 5. We know who they are. Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Wattenberg, Quinn Miners, Mike McGlinchey. Those are the starting 5. I got Matt Pert as the 6th guy. He's obviously somebody that makes sense. Veteran. He's the swing tackle, can play left and right tackle. So I got him making the team. I did choose Alex Forsyth over somebody like an Alex Volchowski. It was tough for me. But because Alex Forsyth is a guy that can come in and play center, he can be the backup center immediately right off the jump. And he can also be the backup guard if needed. I also do have them as Calvin. I got them activating Calvin Throckmorton over Palczewski as well, because he's somebody that is a veteran. He's got more experience, which they typically like to have. Obviously, his history with Sean Payton is gonna help him out. But I think that they really like him as the true backup guard in case Powers or Miners go down, as you guys witnessed in the last week 2 game against the Packers. But he's got more versatility there to be able to go in and fill in at the guard position. Alex Volchowski, he seems like somebody that this Broncos coaching staff likes. I think that they're confident that they can sneak him through to the practice squad again, which I ultimately think that they do. But the fact that they only had him at right tackle, they didn't really use him at left, doesn't give him enough versatility, I think, to justify him being on this team. So this gives the Broncos the versatility that they need to be able to plug and play any of these guys. And I do think Calvin Throckmorton will most likely on game day be the guy that is not active, because Forsyth can go in at center and both guard positions. But if something were to happen on for an extended period of time, I think Calvin Throckmorton will probably be the starter. They trust him a little bit more there. All right, getting into it, guys. Oh, and a special note here, actually. I love the way Demontre Jacobs has been playing. Shout out to him. Any film reviewers out there, go look at his tape. The guy, from what I've seen, looks really, really impressive. So they could probably sneak him on the practice squad, but special shout out to him. He's actually looked really, really good in the time that he's played. So maybe, just maybe, he's somebody that makes a team instead of Pert, but I doubt it. So, but special shout out to him. I did want to add that. Going in the running back room, we do got 5, including obviously the fullback Michael Burton. So we got Javonte, Jaleel, Audric Estime, and I do have Blake Watson here. The reason I'm choosing Blake Watson, because I just want him on the team, but I think that he can still contribute on teams, and he's somebody that is more complete than somebody like, let's say, a Tyler Beatty. But I would not surprise to see Tyler Beatty as the one that made this team too over him. I also feel like they could probably sneak Tyler Beatty in through to the practice squad over someone like Blake Watson, but maybe not. So that could be the kicker. Otherwise, I do like this room. I'm just really curious to see how it all pans out. But if Javonte goes down, Estime can fill in the role. If Jaleel goes down, Blake Watson can fill in the role, and we're off and running. There is a slight possibility, I do want to mention, that Michael Burton maybe doesn't make this team if they wanted to keep somebody like Nate Atkins, who's got position versatility and is good at teams. That might make sense. And if the Broncos feel like we're we have a talented enough team and we need to make those tough decisions, then we can do so. But ultimately, I think that they roll with a true fullback and they go with those five at the running back position. All right, let's move on to receivers. So this one was tough, and this one might be the most controversial one. But hear me out before you lose your mind by seeing Jalen Virgil and not Troy Franklin. We talked about this a little bit on the live video that we did after the game. Shout out to David and Jeremy being on that was always so fun. We talked about it a little bit, but I do have Sutton, Patrick, Reynolds, Mims. I think those four are obviously locked. Now you don't see Troy Franklin on this because I think what the Broncos are ultimately going to end up doing is IRing him and just redshirting him this year. He's going to be on the IR. They can still not have to worry about losing him. He is a draft pick, so he'll technically make the team. There's no way they're cutting him. But I think in order to make room and to have the most talented receivers that are ready to play now, they got to do that. Now, for those of you that don't know how this works is technically on cut down day, they'll have to have Troy Franklin on the team. He's got to stay on the team until all waivers clear, and then they IR him and they would sign somebody back off of waivers. Now, the way that they would avoid doing this, they do this every year, but the way that they avoid doing it is they would take a veteran like I was going to use Troutman, but he's got a 2-year deal, so it might not work. They would take somebody like a Calvin Throckmorton, right? Let's say he's going to make the team. They would let him know, hey, we're going to cut you because you don't have to go through waivers because he's a vested veteran. Okay, with the understanding that they're going to sign him back to the team once the whole waiver process clears. Happens every year. They did it last year with Lil Jordan Humphrey. They did it several years before, all the time with Mike Purcell. It always happens. It's typically got to be with guys that have 1-year deal, not 2 years. So that's what I think will happen is Calvin Throckmorton will get cut. Troy Franklin will remain on the team. Once the waiver process clears, 48 hours after August 27th, they will IR Franklin and bring Throckmorton in. Just to give you an example, this is all prediction, but just wanted to give you some insight on how that process there works. And then I have obviously Devon Bailey making this team. He's shown a lot. He's really exactly what Sean Payton likes at receiver, so he makes sense there. And I do have Jalen Virgil making it over guys like Brandon Johnson. Breaks my heart. Michael Bandy, David Sills, etc. Here's the reason why. Jalen Virgil brings an element on special teams and on offense that nobody else on this team can bring except for Marvin Mims. I imagine a Marvin Mims and Jalen Virgil return group with this new kickoff rules being lethal. Both guys can take it to the house. But also, if Marvin Mims goes down, Jalen Virgil arguably is the only guy on this team right now that can fill it in that role in terms of taking the top off of the defense and end arounds and screens and all the different gadget ways that they'll use Marvin Mims. I think Jalen Virgil can do that. I think he's a really good player. I think the Broncos coaching staff really loved him even last year before he got hurt. So it was tough, but that's my prediction because I think it gives the most versatile room in terms of guys that can play receiver versus guys that can play teams. So we'll see how that pans out. Tight end, I got 3 of them. We got Greg Dulcich, we got Lucas Kroll, and we got Adam Troutman. Pretty straightforward there. I wanted to keep Nate Atkins, but we talked about it. It just doesn't seem to work. I think those are the 3 guys at tight end, and I'm super pumped about these 2, especially if Greg Dulcich can stay healthy. It's going to be an underrated room. All right, getting into the defensive line as we push through this. We got our starters. We got John Franklin Myers. We got Zach Allen. We got DJ Jones. Those are the 3 locked-in starters. I did make a video about DJ Jones. Could he potentially be cut, or could he be somebody that's traded? I still think you can make the argument that it would make sense. He is carrying a $13 million cap hit. That is a lot for a player like DJ Jones at that position. So a possibility, I still doubt it. I think it actually might be more likely that they just extend him in a way, but they might just opt to leave that alone. We'll see. Malcolm Roach is going to be somebody that is not technically a starter, but plays a lot and has a huge role in this team. I love the way he plays. He was brought in to stop the run, and he's somebody that will fill in seamlessly for Zach Allen or JFM should there need be. I do have Ioma Owuzurike making the team for the same reason that he's young. They'll lose him. They won't be able to get him on practice squad. He's just got crazy athletic traits. He's got traits that I think that this defensive Vance Joseph and his staff are just salivating to get their hands on. He's got crazy position versatility where even in college, he played nose, he played three tech defensive end. He even had was a rush outside linebacker. So he can play everywhere. And I think that they really just want to see him develop. So I think he certainly makes the team, and he can play on special teams in terms of like the pump block and all that too. And then my sixth lineman that I have making the team is Angelo Blackson. Now, I don't think we've seen too much of him in the preseason. At least I haven't. I don't think he's really made too many plays. But he's somebody that he's probably the only guy on the roster, as it's currently constructed, that if DJ Jones got hurt, can fill in as a true nose tackle, given his size and his weight. And he's a really good pass rusher. He's actually not a good pass rusher. He's a very good run stopper, and he's somebody that's actually graded out really well on PFF. His problem has just been staying healthy. But in a reserve role, he's somebody that I think makes sense. So that's why I got him. I got 6 total defensive linemen. Inside linebackers, as we move forward to that, I think is pretty straightforward. Alex Singleton, Cody Barton, Jonas Griffith. Jonas Griffith will probably at some point, he could be the starter at some point throughout the year, or he might need to fill in. But he's somebody that's certainly capable to play on defense, but he's also an elite special teams player. Same with Justin Sternad. These two guys here actually are your core special teamers. So they're both certainly making this team, and that rounds out the four inside linebackers as needed. And what's nice about this too is Justin Sternad looks like he's been balling on defense too. So should we have a crazy amount of injuries on the linebacker position, I think both guys can fill in. Now, we got our pass rushers, our outside linebackers. We got Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, Nick Bonito, and Jonah Ellis. And let me tell you guys, I love that group. Young, talented, still got a crazy high ceiling. I think Nick Bonito is ready to take his, I think he could be a double-digit sack guy coming off of 8 sacks. He looks like a beast. Baron Browning, he's still got room to grow. Jonathan Cooper, you love him. You love the leadership. You love the effort that he plays with. Jonah Ellis, you can make the argument, has been the most impressive-looking rookie of all the rookies in the NFL. I saw somebody talking about that on ESPN or an article about it or something. And you can make the argument. He looks like the real deal. Dude is a baller. And so the fifth guy I got is Dondre Tillman. You could go Thomas Incoom. You could go a different route there, or maybe just have 4 pass rushers and have another guy that can play end or outside linebacker. But that's actually why I think Dondre Tillman's making this team. Not only because of his success in the XFL and the 3-year deal that they signed him with, but he's somebody that, he's very experienced, even though he played in the XFL. He's got a ton of experience under his belt. He's looked the part. He's looked really good against the run. But he does have scheme versatility in a sense of he can play 3 technique if needed. He can be a rush outside linebacker as well. And he's going to contribute on teams also. So love Dondre Tillman. I think he definitely makes his team. And I'm just excited to see what number he ends up being, because that 92, I don't know, don't look real good on him. So maybe we'll make a numbers prediction video. I actually like that because I have a weird obsession with jersey numbers. Anyways, moving on. The safeties. This was tough. This was really, really tough for me because, as you can see, Keydron Smith is not on here. And my logic behind it is, I think even though he's had a really good preseason, I think that they can still get Keydron onto the practice squad. I don't see a team out there, putting in a waiver claim for, an undrafted, unproven, young, basically rookie safety, especially given the safety market. So I think that they feel like they can sneak him in onto the practice squad. Whereas somebody like JL Skinner, given that he's got a lot more positional versatility, he can play in the box a little bit more. Not only is that a good scheme fit, but that's a lot more intriguing to other teams. And he was projected to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. So he's definitely fresh in a lot of other teams' minds. So I think that they're going to have to keep him. And I think he'll be a really good contributor. He's a good player. He's at a good camp. He can definitely play teams. He can play both safety positions. He can play in the box as like a dime backer, like Vance Joseph likes to play. So those are the 4. Devin Key is interesting to me. I only have him on there because it's like actions more than anything else. Brandon Jones missed the first 2 preseason games. Devin Key was a starter both times. So it just seems logical that he's going to make the team. but he hasn't really looked all that special. I mean, if you told me that Devin Key wouldn't make it and Keydron Smith would, I'd be totally fine with it. So we'll see how that pans out. But those are the four that I got. In terms of corners, I think it's super straightforward. Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, Damari Mathis, Levi Wallace. Got to have somebody like Levi Wallace who's experienced. He's a vet. You can just trust him in case of emergency or in case one of the other guys struggle. If you need him to start, he can do it. It just makes sense to have him. Jaquan McMillan, we figured it out, guys. We talked about it. It's not McMillian. It is McMillan, even though he spells it McMillian. One of my favorite players on the team. I mentioned it in the live broadcast the other day. I think he could be this. I think you make the argument that he's the second most talented, or at least the second best player on this defense. People might think I'm crazy, but guys, just watch it. The guy's a baller. He's an absolute stud. Off the blitz, in pass pro, in the run game, he does everything, and not in pass pro, in the pass game, in the run game, he does it all. The guy's an absolute stud. I love everything about Jaquan McMillan, so just a special shout out. But he's obviously making the team. And then Chris Abrams-Drain, another guy that I think as the season goes on, you'll see him on the field more and more. Super talented, really good player. But here's what I love about this room, right? Let's say you need somebody to step in at outside corner. You've got guys like Levi Wallace and Damari Mathis that can do that. Obviously, Riley Moss as well. So we're assuming that these two are the starters. Either one of these guys can fill in for Riley Moss or Pat Surtain if needed. They both project as outside corners. Jaquan McMillan is a slot corner, and if anything were to happen to him, Chris Abrams-Drain can go right in to there too. So that's kind of what I really had to work through when putting this is different situations of, who could fill in for what. So I really like this room actually quite a bit. And then, so that's 25 players on offense and 25 players on defense. Totally just happened to work out that way. And then we round out the final three on the 53 with the specialists. Will Lutz as the kicker. I think Riley Dixon wins the punting competition, but who knows? And, really who cares? And then obviously Mitchell Fabroni as our long snapper. Guys, let me know what y'all think. Curious. I'm happy that I hit record on this one, so we ain't going to have to do 2 takes, but let me know in the comments below what you guys think. What did I get right? What did I not? What changes would you make? And I'm really excited to see that official 53-man roster paired up with what it is that I predicted. We'll make a video on that. Otherwise, guys, I'm out. Mile high salute. Spend time with those people that you love the most. And until next time, peace